Seo-Joon, a wealthy and handsome Korean CEO, had everything except love. After countless failed blind dates, he never expected to fall for Grace, a kind Nigerian waitress from a world completely different from his. But when family, power, and fear threaten to tear them apart, will love be strong enough to defy destiny? Subscribe, sit back, and enjoy this heart-racing tale of passion, sacrifice, and the fight for true love. The boardroom fell silent as Seo-Joon slammed his hand on the polished mahogany table. This deal is finished. I don't negotiate with people who waste my time. 30 executives sat frozen as the youngest CEO in South Korea's history stood, adjusted his Patek Philippe watch, and walked out without looking back. At 28, Kang Seo-Joon had built an empire that made older men jealous and younger men envious. His face graced the covers of Forbes, Asia, and Business Weekly. His name moved stock markets. Women threw themselves at him at every charity gala, every business dinner, every exclusive event. But inside, he felt absolutely nothing. That evening, his mother waited in his Gangnam penthouse. Imported tea already poured in delicate porcelain cups, always a bad sign. Seo-Joon, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through steel. I've arranged another meeting. Judge Kim's daughter. She studied at Harvard Law, speaks 4 languages, comes from impeccable lineage, perfect match. Seo-Joon didn't even look up from his laptop. Mother, I've told you. You're 28 years old. She set down her cup with a decisive click that echoed through the minimalist apartment. Your father had already secured 3 generational deals and produced an heir by your age. The Park family is asking questions. The board is whispering. You're making our family look weak. I'm making our family billions. Money isn't legacy. Her voice cracked like a whip. Proper marriage is legacy. Proper children are legacy. This endless parade of meaningless dates is embarrassing. Seo-Joon finally closed his laptop and met her eyes. What's embarrassing is being treated like a business asset instead of your son. His mother's face remained impassive, but something flickered in her eyes hurt, maybe, or anger. With her, it was always hard to tell. Next Saturday, 7 p.m. The Shilla Hotel. Wear the navy Tom Ford suit. She stood, gathering her Hermes handbag. This isn't a request, Seo-Joon. It's a directive from the board. Judge Kim controls 3 seats. We need this alliance. After she left, Seo-Joon stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, staring out at the glittering Seoul skyline, millions of lights, millions of people, all of them living lives he could only observe from his glass tower. Was this all his life would ever be? Deals and obligations? Appropriate marriages to appropriate women who saw him as a prize to be won rather than a person to be known? 3 days later, his assistant Dojin burst into his office, tablet in hand, face flushed. Sir, we have a crisis. The Lagos expansion, the Nigerian government is reconsidering our permits. Local activists are protesting, claiming we're exploiting their resources. If you don't fly out immediately and handle this personally, we could lose the entire West African market. We're talking $200 million in projected losses. Seo-Joon should have been annoyed, should have been stressed. Instead, he felt something he hadn't felt in months. Relief. Book the flight, he said. I leave tonight. His mother would be furious. Judge Kim's daughter would be insulted. The board would have questions. But for the first time in years, Seo-Joon didn't care. Lagos, Nigeria. 6 days later. 11:47 p.m. Grace wiped down the last marble table at the Eco Hotel's 5-star restaurant, every muscle in her body screaming after a 14-hour shift. Around her, Nigeria's elite and foreign businessmen laughed over 80,000 naira bottles of wine, while she collected their half-eaten 25,000 naira meals, food that could have fed her entire street in Mushin for a week. Grace! Table 7 needs water, her manager, Mr. Okonkwo, barked from across the dining room, and Table 12 ordered another bottle of the Chateauneuf du Pape. Move faster. Yes, sir. She grabbed a crystal pitcher, her practiced smile sliding into place like a mask she'd worn for 2 years straight. That smile. She'd perfected it. The smile that said, I exist to serve you. Not I have a first-class degree in economics from the University of Lagos gathering dust in a drawer at home. Not I apply to 15 jobs a week and get rejected from all of them. Not I send 60% of my salary to my mother and 3 younger siblings. Not I'm so tired I sometimes forget what it feels like to not be exhausted. Her friend Chiamaka brushed past her, whispering urgently, That Oyinbo-looking man at table 12 has been watching you all evening. Korean or Chinese, I think. Another one trying his luck? Grace rolled her eyes. Let him watch. They always think because we're waitresses, we're desperate or available. I don't have time for that nonsense. But when she glanced over, curiosity getting the better of her, she paused. The man wasn't staring at her chest or legs like so many others did. He was watching her help Mrs. Adeyemi, the elderly woman at table 5, cut her suya into smaller pieces because of her arthritis. His expression was strange, soft, almost wistful. When their eyes met across the restaurant, he quickly looked away, a faint flush creeping up his neck. Interesting, Grace thought. A shy rich man. That's new. She finished her shift at midnight, changed out of her uniform in the cramped staff bathroom, and checked her phone. 3 missed calls from her mother. Her heart sank. The call connected on the first ring. Grace, thank God, your brother Emeka. What happened? Is he okay? His school fees. They've given us until Friday or they'll send him home. It's 150,000. Her mother's voice cracked. I've sold everything I can. I've borrowed from everyone. I don't know what to do. Grace closed her eyes, mental math already calculating. Her rent was due. Teo's university fees were coming. The generator needed repairs. I'll figure it out, Mama, I promise. Emeka won't be sent home. After hanging up, she leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of 4 people's futures pressing down on her 2 4-year-old shoulders. Grace? Chiamaka peeked in. You okay? Always. The smile returned. The mask. Just tired. That man at table 12 left this for you. She held out an envelope. Grace frowned, opening it carefully. Inside was 50,000 naira in crisp bills, and a simple note in surprisingly neat handwriting. You were kind to the elderly woman. Kindness is rare. Please accept this small gratitude. A grateful customer. Grace stared at the money, tears pricking her eyes. It wasn't enough for Emeka's full fees, but it was a start. It was hope. She didn't know that the Korean man who'd left it had stood outside the restaurant for 20 minutes, debating whether to wait for her or if that would be inappropriate. She didn't know his name was Kang Seo-Joon and that he was worth $800 million. She didn't know that he'd just made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Seo-Joon came back the next night. And the night after that. Sir, the permits have been approved, Dojin said on day 4. We've successfully negotiated with the government. The protests have been resolved. We can return to Seoul tomorrow. Extend my stay another week, Seo-Joon said, not looking up from his tablet. Sir? I said extend it. Tell the board I'm conducting additional market research. Dojin's eyes drifted to the restaurant below, where Grace was serving customers with that same practiced grace. Market research. Of course, sir. That evening, Grace walked to Seo-Joon's table 12, which he'd apparently reserved every single night with a knowing look. Sir, you've ordered jollof rice with grilled chicken 5 nights in a row, but you barely eat half of it. Is there a problem with our food? Seo-Joon felt heat rise to his face. In boardrooms, he was unshakable. Across from this woman, he felt like a nervous teenager. No, it's excellent. Best jollof rice I've ever had. It's the only jollof rice you've ever had, she said, amusement dancing in her eyes. I can tell. You eat it with a fork like it might attack you. Despite himself, Seo-Joon laughed, actually laughed, the sound surprising even himself. Is it that obvious I'm out of my element? Sir, you eat rice 1 grain at a time like you're in a business meeting with each piece. Yes, it's obvious. She set down his water glass. Also, you tip more than the meal costs, which means either you're terrible at math or you're trying to make a point. Maybe I just appreciate good service. Or maybe, she lowered her voice, glancing around to make sure Mr. Okonkwo wasn't watching, you're trying to impress someone. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the bustling restaurant faded away. Is it working? Seo-Joon asked quietly. Grace tilted her head, considering. The jury's still out, but for what it's worth, she smiled. And this time it wasn't her professional smile. It was real, warm, reaching her eyes. Nobody's ever left me a note calling me kind before. Most people don't notice waitresses are human. Then most people are blind. She blinked, caught off guard by the sincerity in his voice. Grace! Mr. Okonkwo's bark shattered the moment. Stop chatting. You have 6 other tables. Sorry, sir. She straightened immediately, her mask sliding back into place. But before she turned away, She whispered. What's your name? Seo-Joon. Kang Seo-Joon. Korean? He nodded. Well, Seo-Joon ses, she said, attempting the honorific with a playful smile. If you come back tomorrow, I'll teach you the proper way to eat jollof rice. Can't have you embarrassing yourself at every Nigerian restaurant you visit. Tomorrow, he agreed, watching her walk away, feeling something in his chest crack open, something he'd kept locked for years. The next evening, Grace's shift ended at 9 p.m. for once a rare gift. She found Seo-Joon waiting outside the restaurant, hands in his pockets, looking simultaneously confident and nervous. I was thinking, he said. You've served me for a week. Let me serve you for once. Dinner? Somewhere you don't have to work? Grace should have said no. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous, rich, foreign man, mysterious intentions, too good to be true. But when she looked into his eyes, she didn't see calculation or manipulation. She saw something she recognized because she felt it too. Loneliness. There's a small buka near Lekki, she said carefully. Nothing fancy. Local food. You'll probably be the only non-Nigerian there. Perfect, Seo-Joon said immediately. Lead the way. An hour later, they sat on plastic chairs at a roadside restaurant, surrounded by the chaos of Lagos nightlife. Okada riders honking, generators humming, the smell of suya and pepper soup mixing with exhaust fumes. Seo-Joon, still in his business casual attire, looked completely out of place and entirely unbothered. This, Grace said, watching him attempt to eat pounded yam with his hands, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'm trying, Seo-Joon protested, the yam sliding through his fingers. She laughed, really laughed, and the sound made something in his chest feel light for the first time in years. Here, she reached across, showing him the proper technique, her hands guiding his. Pinch it, roll it, dip it in the egusi soup. Like this. Their fingers touched, and both of them froze. Grace, he said softly. Can I ask you something? Depends on the question. Why are you working as a waitress? I've watched you, you're brilliant with people. You speak perfect English. You carry yourself like someone who's educated. What's your story? The laughter faded from her eyes. For a long moment, she said nothing, just stared at the bowl of soup between them. First-class degree in economics, she finally said. University of Lagos, 2022. Applied to 247 jobs in 2 years. Got 11 interviews, 0 offers. She shrugged, but he could see the pain beneath the casual gesture. So now I serve food to people who probably have my dream job. And I send money home to make sure my siblings don't end up like me. Your siblings? 3 of them. My father died 6 years ago. Cancer. My mother sells tomatoes at Ojuelegba Market. Tayo is finishing her degree at Unilag. Emmanuel and Emeka are in secondary school. If I can keep working for 3 more years, they'll all finish their education. And then what about you? Seo-Joon asked. Your dreams? No one had asked her that in 4 years. Not since her father died. She felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back angrily. My dreams don't matter. Their future matters. That's not true. You don't understand. You're right, I don't. He leaned forward, intense. I don't understand what it's like to struggle for money or jobs. I don't understand having to choose between your dreams and your family. But I do understand what it's like to have everyone tell you what you should want, what you should be, what your life should look like. And I understand what it feels like to be so busy taking care of everyone else that you forget to take care of yourself. Grace stared at him, seeing past the expensive watch and tailored clothes for the first time. What does a rich Korean CEO have to take care of besides his stock portfolio? A company with 5,000 employees depending on me. A mother who treats me like a chess piece in her social games. Board members waiting for me to fail so they can say I was too young. A country that expects me to be a certain way, marry a certain type of woman, live a certain type of life. He smiled sadly. Different problems, maybe. But the cage is the same, just with better decorations. They talked until midnight, then until 2 a.m. The buka owner eventually kicked them out, and they walked along Bar Beach, shoes in hand, waves crashing beside them. This is insane, Grace said, kicking at the sand. You leave in what, a week? Actually, I've extended my stay indefinitely. She stopped walking. What? Seo-Joon turned to face her, the moonlight catching in his dark eyes. I told my assistant to handle Seoul remotely for a while. Told my mother I'm conducting crucial business research. Told the board that the Nigerian market requires my personal attention. And what's the real reason? He stepped closer. The ocean wind whipped around them, carrying the salt-sweet smell of the Atlantic. I think you know the real reason. Grace's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous. This was impossible. This was… Seo-Joon, we barely know each other. Then let me know you. Give me time. Give us time. His voice was raw, vulnerable in a way she suspected he rarely allowed himself to be. I've spent 28 years being who everyone else needed me to be. For the first time, I want to be who I actually am. And when I'm with you, I remember who that is. Grace looked at this impossible man, this billionaire CEO who ate pounded yam with his hands and didn't care that his 500,000 shoes were covered in sand, and felt her carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. Okay, she whispered. Let's see where this goes. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Yeah? Yeah. But I have conditions. Name them. 1. You eat jollof rice with your hands like a proper person. 2. You stop tipping 50,000 naira for a 5,000 naira meal. You're making the other waitresses jealous. 3. If this goes south, you don't get to mess with my life and leave. I have too many people depending on me to add heartbreak to the list. Deal? Seo-Joon said immediately. My conditions: you stop calling me sir. You let me take you on actual dates. And you tell me when I'm being an oblivious rich guy so I can fix it. She laughed, offering her hand. Deal. They shook on it. Formal and ridiculous, and both of them felt like they were standing on the edge of something that would either save them or destroy them. Neither of them knew which yet. Over the next 4 weeks, Seo-Joon did something he'd never done before. He lived. Not as a CEO. Not as Kang Seo-Joon, the business prodigy. Just as himself. He met Grace after her shifts. They explored Lagos together, the organized chaos of Balogun Market, where Grace haggled fearlessly in Yoruba, and he carried her bags like an expensive pack mule, drawing amused stares from market women. Ah, sister. You don't catch better fish, oh, one elderly woman called out in pidgin, making Grace blush and Seo-Joon ask for a translation he immediately regretted. They ate at street-side vendors in Surulere, where Grace taught him to eat suya without burning his mouth. He failed spectacularly. Where old men playing drafts invited him to try, he lost every game and loved every minute. On Sundays, Grace invited him to her church in Mushin, a small, vibrant building where the worship made the walls shake and the pastor's voice boomed with conviction. You don't have to come, Grace had said. I know this isn't your thing. I want to, Seo-Joon had interrupted, and he meant it. Pastor Emmanuel, a round man with kind eyes and an infectious laugh, welcomed him like family. Ah, Grace has brought a friend. You are welcome, my son. In God's house, we don't see Korean or Nigerian. We see brothers and sisters. Seo-Joon, who'd only attended churches in Seoul for networking purposes where everything was quiet and formal and cold, felt something shift in his chest when the congregation really sang, with their whole bodies and voices, with joy that was almost tangible. After service, Pastor Emmanuel pulled him aside. You know, young man, I see the way you look at our Grace, like she's the only star in the sky. Seo-Joon felt his ears burn. Is it that obvious? As obvious as sunshine, Pastor Emmanuel chuckled. But let me tell you something, Grace is special. Not because she's beautiful, though she is. Not because she's smart, though she is. But because she has a heart that loves without counting the cost. That kind of woman? You don't find her twice in a lifetime. I know, Seo-Joon said quietly. Then you make sure you're worthy of her. Because if you're not, the pastor's eyes suddenly lost all humor. We have many big brothers in this church who will be happy to remind you. It was said kindly, but Seo-Joon had no doubt the threat was real. I understand, sir. Good. The warmth returned instantly. Now come. Grace's mother sent jollof rice. You can't leave without eating. 3 weeks in, Grace brought him to Mushin, to her actual home. Seo-Joon had seen poverty before, from car windows, in documentaries, in statistics presented at board meetings. But walking through Grace's neighborhood was different. The unpaved roads, children playing football with a deflated ball, women frying akara in front of their houses, men playing cards under flickering streetlights powered by generators because NEPA had taken the light again. Grace watched his face carefully, defensively. This is where I live. This is who I am. If it's too much, Grace. He took her hand. Show me your home. Her apartment was a single room, maybe 12 square meters total. Immaculate despite its size. a small gas cooker in one corner, a mattress on the floor covered with a colorful bedspread, a tiny table with her laptop and stacks of textbooks. On the wall, a family photo from better times. Grace, much younger, with her parents and 3 siblings, all smiling. She shared this space with her younger sister Tayo when she was home from university. "Your father?" Seo-Joon asked softly, looking at the photo. "Cancer. 3 years of treatment. We sold everything, our house, my mother's shop, my father's taxi, everything." Her voice was steady, but he saw her hands tremble. In the end, it wasn't enough. He died anyway, and we had nothing left. Grace. Tayo's in her final year at Unilag now. She wants to be a doctor. Emmanuel wants to be an engineer. Emeka wants to be a pilot. She laughed, but it sounded broken. Big dreams for kids from Mushin. But if I can just work 3 more years, they'll all finish school. They'll have chances I didn't have. That's enough. "What about your dreams?" Seo-Joon asked. "What do you want?" She was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. "I wanted to start a microfinance company," she finally said. "For women like my mother. Women who have brilliant business ideas but no capital, no collateral, no way to get traditional loans. Women who sell tomatoes for 30 years when they could be running businesses. I wrote a whole business plan in my final year." She gestured to the laptop. "It's probably stupid. Show me." "What?" "Your business plan. Show me." Grace hesitated, then opened her laptop. The file was dated 3 years ago. Grace Okafor Microfinance Initiative for Nigerian Women Final Proposal. Seo-Joon read in silence for 20 minutes while Grace sat nervously, second-guessing every word she'd written. Finally, he looked up, his eyes bright. "This is brilliant. You don't have to say that. Grace, I'm serious. This is better than half the proposals I see from my own company's finance team." He scrolled through the projected returns, the social impact analysis, the risk mitigation strategies. "You've thought of everything. Why didn't you pursue this? With what capital? What bank gives a loan to a 4-year-old waitress with no collateral?" Seo-Joon's mind was already racing, but he forced himself to slow down. This wasn't about him swooping in to save her. This was about her dream. "What if you had a silent investor?" he asked carefully. "Seo-Joon, no. Hear me out. Not a gift. A real investment with real terms. You maintain full control, full creative authority. I'm just capital, nothing more. I can't take your money." "It's not taking, it's business." He closed the laptop and took her hands. "Grace, I've watched you handle difficult customers with more grace than my executives handle board meetings. I've seen you calculate tips faster than my accounting team processes expense reports. I've watched you manage your entire family's finances on a waitress salary. You're the most capable person I know. This isn't charity. This is me investing in something I believe in." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You really think I could do this? I think you could do anything." Grace collapsed into his arms, sobbing, years of pressure and fear and exhaustion finally breaking open. Seo-Joon held her, feeling her pain like it was his own. "We'll figure it out together," he murmured into her hair. "I promise." That night, after Seo-Joon left, Grace's phone rang. Her mother. "Grace, who is this man Tayo says you've been bringing around? She saw you at church with an Oyinbo. He's Korean, Mama. His name is Seo-Joon. And before you ask, yes, he's wealthy. And yes, I like him. A lot." There was a long pause. "Grace, be careful. Rich men don't marry poor girls. They use them and leave them." "Mama, I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying this to protect you. You've worked so hard, sacrificed so much. Don't let any man derail your life." "I won't, Mama. I promise." But as Grace lay on her mattress that night, staring at the ceiling, she wondered if that was a promise she could keep. Because she was already falling for Seo-Joon. Hard. And falling had never felt more dangerous or more inevitable. The first crack appeared on week 5. Seo-Joon was having breakfast with Grace at her favorite spot, a small canteen that served the best akara and pap in Mushin, when his phone rang. Not his Nigerian phone. His soul phone. The one only 5 people had the number to. Grace watched his face go pale as he checked the caller ID. "I have to take this," he said, standing abruptly. "Seo-Joon." His mother's voice was glacial. "Do you think I'm stupid?" "Mother, 6 weeks. You've been in Nigeria for 6 weeks. The board is asking questions. Judge Kim's father is furious you missed the arranged meeting entirely. And worse, I've been getting reports, very disturbing reports." Seo-Joon's blood turned to ice. What reports? About you. Holding hands with some local girl, attending churches in slums, making a fool of yourself and our family name. Her voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Who is she? Her name is Grace. I don't care what her name is. What I care about is that you've apparently lost your mind over some Nigerian waitress. Seo-Joon felt rage flash through him. Watch how you speak about her. Excuse me? I said, watch how you speak about Grace. She's more intelligent, more capable, more genuine than any of the women you've tried to force on me. His mother laughed a cold, bitter sound. Listen to yourself. You sound like a child having a tantrum. I sound like a man making his own choices. No. You sound like a fool throwing away your legacy for a fantasy. Her voice softened, becoming almost gentle, which was somehow worse. Seo-Joon, listen to me. I understand the appeal. She's exotic, different, makes you feel like a hero. But this isn't real life. Real life is here, in Seoul, with your responsibilities, with your company, with your family. Grace is real, Seo-Joon said quietly. More real than anything in Seoul has ever been. Then you're going to have to choose. The gentleness vanished. You have 48 hours to return to Seoul. If you're not on a plane by Friday, the board will vote you out as CEO. Your uncle has already gathered the votes. You will lose everything. You wouldn't. Try me. 48 hours, Seo-Joon. Choose wisely. The line went dead. Seo-Joon stood there, phone in hand, feeling like the ground had opened beneath his feet. When he returned to the table, Grace took one look at his face and knew. Your mother? He nodded. She knows about me. He nodded again. Grace set down her akara carefully, her hands perfectly steady even though her heart was shattering. What did she say? It doesn't matter. Seo-Joon. What did she say? He told her everything. The ultimatum, the board vote, the choice. When he finished, Grace was quiet for a long time. You should go, she finally said. What? You should go back to Seoul. Her voice was calm, rational, the voice of someone who'd already processed the grief and accepted the inevitable. You have a company, employees, a life there. I have. This. She gestured around the small canteen. We knew this couldn't last. Grace, no. Be honest with yourself. She finally met his eyes, and he saw tears she refused to let fall. What was the plan? You stay here forever? I move to Korea and become what your secret, the Nigerian girl who trapped the rich CEO? Your mother will make my life hell. Your board will never accept me. I don't speak Korean. I don't understand your culture. I don't have the education or background or… Stop. He grabbed her hands across the table. None of that matters. You're the smartest, strongest, most incredible woman I've ever met. But it's not enough, is it? A tear finally escaped. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get on that plane. And I'm going to stay here. Because that's reality. I'm not leaving you. You have to. I'll figure something out. Figure what out? Her voice broke. Seo-Joon, I've been poor my whole life. I know what power looks like. I know what money can do. Your mother has both. If you stay, she'll destroy you, and you'll eventually resent me for it. I would never, maybe not today, maybe not next year, but one day you'll wake up and realize what you gave up for me, what you lost. And I can't, she choked on a sob. I can't be the reason your life falls apart. Seo-Joon felt something in his chest crack wide open. What if you're the reason my life finally makes sense? They sat there in the small canteen, hands clasped across the cheap plastic table, both of them crying now, while around them Lagos continued its chaotic, beautiful dance, indifferent to heartbreak. I need time to think, Seo-Joon finally said. Please, give me 24 hours. Grace nodded, not trusting her voice. That night, Seo-Joon called Dojin. I need you to look into something. Quietly. Can the board actually vote me out? Legally? With your mother and uncle's combined shares, yes. They'd need 3 more board members to vote with them, but… Dojin hesitated. Sir, they have those votes. Judge Kim's father controls 2 seats. Chairman Park controls 1. If your mother calls in those favors, I'd lose everything. Yes, sir. Seo-Joon stared out at the Lagos skyline from his hotel room, so different from Seoul's orderly perfection. Messy. Chaotic. Alive. What would you do? He asked Dojin. If you were me? There was a long pause. Sir, with respect, I'm not you. I've never been in love. I've never had to choose between duty and happiness. But, another pause. I've watched you for 5 years. I've never seen you smile until you met her. I've never seen you actually live until you came to Lagos. After hanging up, Seo-Joon made a decision. He called his mother. I'm coming back to Seoul, he said. Smart choice. I'm coming back to save my company. But I'm not giving up, Grace. I'll figure out a way to have both. His mother's laugh was brittle. There is no both, Seo-Joon. There's reality or fantasy. Choose. I choose Grace, and if the board wants to fight me, they can try. He hung up before she could respond. Then he went to find Grace to tell her his decision. He had no idea that she'd already made hers. Seo-Joon arrived at Grace's apartment at 4 a.m., heart pounding, speech prepared. He was going to tell her he'd figured it out. He'd restructure the board, buy out his uncle, fight his mother, whatever it took. But when Grace opened the door, her eyes swollen from crying, she spoke first. I can't do this. The 3 words hit him like a physical blow. Grace, wait. No, listen to me. She stepped back, putting distance between them. I've been thinking all night, really thinking, about what this costs, about what it means. We can figure it out. How? Her voice cracked. Tell me how, Seo-Joon. You restructure the board, your mother will never speak to you again. You buy out your uncle, you'll spend years in legal battles. You choose me, you lose your company, your family, your entire life. I don't care, but I do. She was crying now, openly. I care, because I love you too much to let you destroy yourself for me. The room went still. It was the first time either of them had said it out loud. You love me, Seo-Joon whispered. Of course I love you, you idiot, Grace sobbed. Why else would I be doing this? If I didn't love you, I could be selfish. I could let you stay, let you throw everything away. But I love you, so I have to let you go. Seo-Joon crossed the small room in 2 strides, grabbing her face. Grace, listen to me very carefully. I love you too, and I'm not leaving. You have to. I don't have to do anything. His voice was fierce. For 28 years, I've done what everyone else wanted, been who everyone else needed. And I was miserable, empty. Then I met you, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe, like I was actually living instead of just existing. I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving you up. But your company is just a company, buildings and money and stock prices, he was shouting now, months of frustration pouring out. You are real. What I feel for you is real. Everything else is just noise. Seo-Joon. No, you listen now. He gentled his voice, thumbs wiping away her tears. You said you loved me. Did you mean it? Yes, she whispered. Then trust me. Trust us. We'll figure this out together. Maybe I lose the company. Maybe I don't. Maybe my mother comes around. Maybe she doesn't. But whatever happens, we face it together. Please. Grace wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But she'd lived in the real world too long. Your mother will never accept me, she said quietly. I'm everything she doesn't want for you. Wrong country, wrong background, wrong everything. Then she'll learn to live with disappointment. And if you lose everything, if you end up resenting me, the only thing I'll resent is if you push me away because you're scared. He pressed his forehead to hers. Grace, I'm scared too. I'm terrified. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. She closed her eyes, feeling the war raging inside her heart versus mind, hope versus fear, love versus logic. Give me 24 hours, she finally said. Please. I need to think clearly. I can't do that with you here. Seo-Joon wanted to argue, wanted to stay, wanted to fight. But he saw the exhaustion in her eyes and nodded. 24 hours. But Grace? He kissed her forehead. I'm not giving up on us, even if you do. After he left, Grace sat on her mattress and called the one person she trusted most. Pastor Emmanuel? It's Grace. I need help. The next morning, Seo-Joon received an email that made his blood run cold. Emergency board meeting, Seoul, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. Topic, vote of no confidence, CEO Kang Seo-Joon. His mother had moved up the timeline. Dojin called immediately. Sir, they're forcing your hand. If you don't show up, they'll vote you out in absentia. You have to come back. I can't leave yet. I haven't talked to Grace. Sir, with respect, if you lose your position, you lose everything. Your salary, Your shares, your influence, you'll have nothing to offer her. She doesn't want my money, but she wants you to have a future. Sir, think strategically. Come back, win the board, then return for her with your position secure. It made horrible, logical sense. Seo-Joon spent the day trying to reach Grace, but her phone went straight to voicemail. She was avoiding him. Finally, at 8 p.m., she texted, "Meet me at Bar Beach, 1 hour." He arrived early, pacing the sand, waves crashing in the darkness. When Grace appeared, she looked exhausted, but resolved. "I talked to Pastor Emmanuel," she said without preamble. "About us, about everything." "What did he say?" "He told me a story about his parents. His mother was Igbo, his father was Hausa. Back in the 1982, that was basically forbidden. Their families disowned them. They had nothing, but they chose each other anyway." She smiled sadly. "He said they struggled for years, faced discrimination, poverty, but they never regretted it because they had each other." "Grace, let me finish." She took a breath. "He also said that love without wisdom is just passion, and that sometimes loving someone means letting them do what's necessary, even when it hurts." Seo-Joon's chest tightened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to go back to Seoul, win your board fight, save your company." She held up a hand when he tried to interrupt. "Not because I'm pushing you away, but because you can't build a future with me if you destroy your present. Your mother is right about one thing: you have responsibilities, employees depending on you, a legacy. But, listen," her voice was firm now, "go back, fight for what's yours, and if after everything settles you still want us, then come back. Really come back, not running from your life, but choosing mine, choosing us. How long? However long it takes. 3 months, 6 months, a year." Tears streamed down her face. "If what we have is real, it'll survive the distance. And if I can't fix things, if I lose the company anyway, then you come back to me without regrets, without wondering what if. But you have to try, Seo-Joon. You have to know you did everything you could." He grabbed her hands desperately. "I can't lose you. You're not losing me. I'm asking you to trust me, trust us." She squeezed his hands. "Go save your company, then come save me from this waitressing job." Despite the pain, Seo-Joon laughed a broken, watery sound. "That's not funny. It's a little funny." They stood there on the beach, holding each other as the Atlantic wind whipped around them, both crying, both knowing this was goodbye but not wanting to say it. "I love you," Seo-Joon said. "I will come back for you. I swear it." "I love you too." Grace pulled back, memorizing his face. "Now go. Your flight leaves at 6 a.m. Dojin already booked it." "How did you—" "He called me, explained everything. We both want the same thing: for you to not destroy your life." She smiled through tears. "Go be the CEO you were meant to be. Show your mother and that board what you're made of. Then come show me." Seo-Joon kissed her, desperate, passionate, full of all the words they couldn't say. Then he forced himself to step back. "Wait for me," he whispered. "Always." He walked away, each step feeling like tearing off his own skin. At the edge of the beach, he turned back one last time. Grace stood in the moonlight, hand raised in goodbye, looking like every beautiful, heartbreaking thing he'd ever imagined. Then she turned and walked away too, and Seo-Joon made himself do the hardest thing he'd ever done. He let her go. Seoul felt like a prison. Seo-Joon threw himself into work with frightening intensity. The board meeting had been brutal. 3 hours of accusations, character attacks, questions about his judgment. His mother had sat stone-faced while his uncle tried to dismantle everything he'd built. But Seo-Joon had come prepared. He'd brought 5 years of financial records showing unprecedented growth, testimonials from major clients, expansion projections. He'd fought like his life depended on it because, in a way, it did. The vote had been close, painfully close, but he'd won. He'd kept his position barely with conditions, increased oversight, quarterly reviews, his mother and uncle watching his every move, but he'd won. Now, 3 months later, he was technically more successful than ever. He'd closed 2 major deals, expanded into Vietnam, been featured in Time magazine's 30 Under 30 list, and he was absolutely miserable. Every night, he'd stare at his phone, thumb hovering over Grace's contact. They'd agreed to minimal communication. The distance was too hard, the temptation too strong, but she'd send him occasional messages. Tayo got accepted to medical school. First person in our family. Thank you for the scholarship fund you anonymously set up. I know it was you. Tried to teach Emeka to cook jollof. Kitchen almost caught fire. He's banned from cooking forever. Miss you. Saw a Korean drama today. The CEO was nothing like you. Too perfect. You're better because you're real. Each message was a lifeline and a knife wound simultaneously. Dojin watched his boss deteriorate with concern. Sir, you haven't eaten today. Again. I'm fine. You're not fine. You've lost 15 pounds. You don't sleep. You're working 18-hour days. I said I'm fine. Dojin sighed. Have you talked to her? We agreed. I know what you agreed. I'm asking if you've talked to her. Seo-Joon's shoulders sagged. If I hear her voice, I'll break. I'll get on a plane and destroy everything we've been working toward. Maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing. She asked me to wait. To do this right. I won't disrespect that. But the waiting was killing him. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Grace was fighting her own battles. She'd quit her job at the Echo Hotel, too many memories, and found a position at a small bank. Entry level, but it was in her field. It was progress. She'd also started teaching financial literacy workshops at her church on weekends, working on her business plan in the evenings, preparing for a future she wasn't sure would ever come. You're wasting away, Chiamaka said, watching Grace push food around her plate during lunch. That man really got to you, eh? I'm fine. You're as fine as that lie is true. Chiamaka sighed. Grace, it's been 3 months. If he hasn't come back, he'll come back. But what if he doesn't? What if his mother convinced him? He'll come back, Grace repeated firmly. But doubt had started creeping in like poison. What if he forgot her? What if Seoul's bright lights and appropriate women made him realize she'd been just an exotic fantasy? What if? Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Miss Okafor, I believe we need to talk. I'll be in Lagos tomorrow. Echo Hotel, 3 p.m. Mrs. Kang. Grace's hands started shaking. Seo-Joon's mother was here. Grace arrived at the Echo Hotel at 2:45 p.m., palms sweating, heart racing. She dressed in her best, a simple but professional dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. She wanted to look dignified. Mrs. Kang was waiting in a private dining room, looking every inch the powerful woman she was. Designer handbag, perfect makeup, cold eyes that assessed Grace like a problem to be solved. Sit, she commanded, not asked, commanded. Grace sat, spine straight, meeting those cold eyes directly. I'll be direct, Mrs. Kang said. You're the reason my son has been destroying himself for 3 months. With respect, ma'am, I didn't ask him to. Let me finish. The temperature in the room dropped. Seo-Joon has lost 15 pounds. He's working himself to exhaustion. He's not eating, barely sleeping. All because he's pining for some Nigerian waitress he knew for 6 weeks. Grace flinched but held her ground. I'm not a waitress anymore. Oh? What are you now? A bank officer. And I'm working on my own business. How ambitious. Mrs. Kang's smile was razor sharp. Let me guess. My son is funding this business? No. I refused his money. That made Mrs. Kang pause. Excuse me? He offered to invest. I said no. Whatever I build, I'll build myself. Mrs. Kang studied her with new interest. Why? Because I won't be accused of being a gold digger. Because I need to know I can stand on my own. Because, Grace took a breath. Because if Seo-Joon and I have a future, it needs to be built on respect, not rescue. Mrs. Kang was silent for a long moment. Then she opened her Hermes bag and pulled out an envelope. There's 50 million naira in this account. She slid a bank check across the table. More than enough to start your microfinance company. More than enough to secure your family's future forever. Your mother could retire. Your siblings could attend the best schools. Grace stared at the check like it was a snake. All you have to do, Mrs. Kang continued, is promise never to contact my son again. Disappear from his life. Let him move on. The room was so quiet Grace could hear her own heartbeat. 50 million naira. Her mother's retirement. Tayo's medical school without debt. Emmanuel and Emeka's futures secured. Her business fully funded. Everything she'd dreamed of. All she had to do was give up Seo-Joon forever. Grace picked up the check. Studied it. Mrs. Kang's smile grew victorious. Then Grace tore it in half. The smile died instantly. What do you think you're doing? Grace tore the check again. And again. Until it was confetti on the expensive tablecloth. You can keep your money, Grace said quietly, but her voice was steel. I never wanted it. I never wanted anything from him except him. But you'll never understand that, will you? Because to you, everything has a price. Everyone can be bought. You stupid girl. Maybe I am stupid. Grace stood. Maybe I'm stupid for believing that a Korean CEO and a Nigerian bank officer could build something real. Maybe I'm stupid for turning down enough money to change my entire life. But you know what? I'd rather be stupid and have dignity than rich and empty. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. You want to know why Seo-Joon is miserable? It's not because of me. It's because of you. Because you've spent his entire life treating him like a business asset instead of your son. You've never once asked him what he wants. What makes him happy? You've just demanded and controlled and manipulated. How dare you? I love your son, Mrs. Kang. Actually love him. Not his money, not his status. Him. The man who eats jollof rice with his hands, even though he hates the texture. Who plays drafts with old men in Mushin and loses every game with a smile. Who donated $5 million to my church's building fund anonymously because he saw how the roof leaked. Grace's voice broke. I love the man you've never even tried to know. If you love him so much, why did you send him away? Because I love him enough to want him whole, not broken, not destroyed by choosing between his family and me. Tears streamed down Grace's face. I sent him away because I was trying to save him from you, Mrs. Kang sat very still. The torn card scattered between her perfectly manicured fingers. You really love him, she said quietly. And for the first time, it wasn't an accusation. With everything I am, and you expect me to just accept this? Accept you? No, Grace said honestly. I expect you to fight me, to hate me, to do everything in your power to keep us apart. But I also want you to know I'm not going anywhere. When Seo-Joon comes back to Lagos, and he will come back, I'll be here. And if you make him choose between us, he'll choose me. Not because I'm better than you, but because he deserves to choose his own happiness for once in his life. She walked out, leaving Mrs. Kang alone with the shredded card and thoughts she'd never allowed herself to have before. That evening, as Mrs. Kang sat in her own hotel room, she did something she hadn't done in 20 years. She wept, not for herself, but for the son she'd controlled so completely that she'd never actually known him. And for the first time in her life, she wondered if she'd been wrong about everything. 2 weeks after his mother's mysterious trip to Lagos, she'd refused to explain. Seo-Joon sat in his office, reviewing quarterly reports when Do-jin entered with an unusual expression. Sir, your mother is here to see you. Seo-Joon tensed. Tell her I'm busy. She asked me to give you this first. Do-jin handed him an envelope. Inside were 2 things. A plane ticket to Lagos for that evening, and a handwritten note in his mother's precise script. I was wrong. Go get her. Bring her home. And when you do, I'll welcome her properly. Mother. Seo-Joon stared at the note. Certain he was hallucinating. What happened? I don't know, sir. But she's been different since Lagos. Do-jin smiled. Your flight leaves in 4 hours. I've already packed your things. But the board already approved a 2-week leave. Your mother handled it. Seo-Joon looked at the ticket, at the note, at Do-jin's knowing smile. She really said I could go? She said, and I quote, If you don't go immediately, you're stupider than I raised you to be. For the first time in months, Seo-Joon laughed, really laughed, the sound filling his office with joy that had been absent too long. Well then. He grabbed his jacket. I guess I have a flight to catch. Sir, Do-jin called as Seo-Joon rushed toward the door. Bring her back to us. We're all rooting for you. Seo-Joon nodded, unable to speak past the emotion in his throat. Then he ran. Grace was closing up the bank when her coworker Ngozi rushed over, breathless. Grace, there's someone outside asking for you. Who? Ngozi just grinned. Go see for yourself. Grace frowned, gathering her bag. Probably a customer with a complaint. She stepped outside into the warm Lagos evening, the sun painting the sky in oranges and golds, and stopped breathing. Seo-Joon stood there, slightly sweaty, hair mussed from travel, still in his business suit but with his tie loosened and top button undone. He looked exhausted and anxious, and more beautiful than she remembered. In his hands was the most absurd bouquet of flowers she'd ever seen, mixed with Nigerian hibiscus and Korean chrysanthemums, a chaos of colors that shouldn't work together but somehow did. For a moment, neither of them moved. The Lagos traffic roared around them, okadas honking, street vendors calling out, generators humming, but all Grace could hear was her own heartbeat. You came back, she whispered. I told you I would. His voice was rough with emotion. Did you think I wouldn't? I was starting to wonder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry it took so long. He took a step closer. I had to make sure everything was settled, that I could come back, not running from my life, but running toward our life. Together. Seo-Joon. Let me finish. He set down the ridiculous flowers. I won the board fight, secured my position, made peace with my mother, actually made peace, not just a ceasefire. I've restructured the company to run remotely part of the year, set up a Lagos office, got all the permits and approvals. He was talking faster now, nervously, and I've been working with Nigerian government officials on microfinance regulations, because I know you're too proud to take my money directly. But if Kang Enterprises partners with a local entrepreneur as part of our corporate social responsibility initiative, that's just smart business. Grace launched herself at him, cutting off his rambling with a kiss that made passing strangers cheer and honk their horns. When they finally broke apart, both breathless and crying and laughing, Seo-Joon cupped her face. I love you, he said. I love your strength and your pride and your stubbornness and your brilliant mind. I love that you tore up my mother's bribe, by the way. She told me about that and said, and I quote, she has more backbone than most of my board members. Grace laughed through her tears. She really said that? She did. She also said. He took a breath. She said she was wrong about you, about us, and she wants to meet you properly, as family. Family? Well, potential family. Seo-Joon dropped to one knee, right there on the dusty Lagos street, pulling out a ring box. Grace Okafor, I know this is fast. I know we still have a million things to figure out. I know cross-cultural relationships are complicated and difficult, and everyone will have opinions. Around them, people had stopped walking. Phones were out, recording. Grace could hear Ngozi screaming excitedly from the bank entrance. But I also know, Seo-Joon continued, voice steady despite his shaking hands, that I've never been more certain of anything in my life. You're my home. Lagos feels more like home than Seoul ever did because you're here. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you build this complicated, messy, beautiful life with me? Half in Korea, half here, all together? Grace was sobbing so hard she could barely speak. You're sure? Really sure? Because once I say yes, I'm never letting you go. I'm counting on it. Your mother really approved this? She helped me pick the ring, she said. His voice cracked. She said I should marry someone who loves me for me, not for the Kang name, and that anyone brave enough to rip up 50 million naira deserves to be her daughter-in-law. Grace fell to her knees in front of him, not caring about her work clothes or the dust. Yes, she sobbed. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Seo-Joon slipped the ring on her finger, simple, elegant, with a small diamond that caught the dying sunlight and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The street erupted in celebration. Strangers danced. Car horns created a symphony. Someone started playing Afrobeats from a speaker, and within minutes, an impromptu party had formed on the Lagos street. You know, Grace said, laughing as Seo-Joon spun her around, your mother is going to hate our wedding. I'm thinking traditional Nigerian and Korean ceremony combined. She'll love it, Seo-Joon said confidently. Or she'll learn to. Either way, she'll be there. How can you be sure? Because she told me, when you marry that girl, make sure the wedding is big enough that all of Korea knows the Kang family doesn't do anything small. I think that was her way of saying she's proud. Grace threw her head back and laughed, the sound full of joy and disbelief and hope. We're really doing this, she said. A Korean CEO and a Nigerian banker. Former waitress, Seo-Joon corrected with a grin. Don't forget your origins. Oh, I'll never forget. She kissed him again. That's where I met you. Best jollof rice I ever ordered. The only jollof rice you ever ordered. Exactly. Set the bar too high. Nothing else compares. They stood there on the Lagos street, holding each other as the sun set, and the city's lights began to twinkle. Both of them finally home. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for Grace Microfinance Initiative drew a crowd of over 500 people. Seo-Joon stood to the side, watching his wife God. He'd never tire of that word, give her speech in flawless Yoruba, then English, then even some Korean phrases she'd been practicing for the Seoul investors who'd flown in specifically for this event. She was magnificent, confident, radiant in her traditional Nigerian Ankara dress with Korean hanbok-inspired modifications that honored both cultures. His mother stood beside him, looking elegant and regal as always, but with something softer in her expression now. "She's remarkable," Mrs. Kang said quietly. "The board loves her. Did you know she increased our regional profitability by 40% in 18 months? "I know," Seo-Joon said, unable to stop smiling. "And the Korean media after the wedding, the coverage was incredible. Kang dynasty unites continents," they said. "Very dramatic. Your uncle was furious with jealousy." Seo-Joon glanced at his mother. "Are you bragging about my wife?" Mrs. Kang allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps. Is that so strange? Coming from the woman who tried to bribe her to leave me?" "Yes. I was protecting you. I was wrong." She paused, then added quietly, "Your father would have liked her. He always said true strength is knowing when to bend without breaking. Grace has that. I didn't see it at first, but—" She gestured to the building, the crowd, Grace's radiant smile. "Now I see it everywhere." On stage, Grace finished her speech to thunderous applause. She caught Seo-Joon's eye and smiled, that private smile reserved only for him, and his heart did the same flip it had done 2 years ago in a Lagos hotel restaurant. After the ceremony, as they mingled with guests, Pastor Emmanuel beaming with pride, Grace's mother elegant in her new lace dress, Tayo home from medical school, Emmanuel and Emeka grown tall and confident. Mrs. Kang pulled Grace aside. "I never properly apologized," she said stiffly. "For the bribe, for doubting you, for everything." Grace took her mother-in-law's hand gently. "You were protecting your son. I understand that. I'd do the same. Still, I was cruel, and I was wrong." Mrs. Kang met her eyes. "You've made him happier than I've ever seen him. Happier than I ever made him, certainly. That's worth more than any business alliance I could have arranged. He talks about his father sometimes," Grace said softly. "Says he wishes you two had this kind of relationship." Mrs. Kang's eyes glistened. "We did, once, before duty and expectations buried it." She squeezed Grace's hand. "Don't let that happen to you and Seo-Joon. Fight for your love. Always, always," Grace promised. "Good, Mrs. Kang's composure returned. "Now, about grandchildren. You've been married 2 years. "Mother!" Seo-Joon appeared, rescuing Grace with exaggerated horror. "Give us time." "Time? Grace's sister graduates next year. Her brothers are in university. Your wife's family is secure. Your company is thriving. What exactly are you waiting for?" Seo-Joon opened his mouth to argue, then caught Grace instinctively touching her stomach during a conversation with Pastor Emmanuel. His heart stopped. Grace met his eyes across the crowd and smiled that secret, knowing smile. "Oh my God," he breathed. "Mrs. Kang followed his gaze and gasped. "Is she? I think so?" "Well, don't just stand there like a fool." Mrs. Kang practically pushed him forward. "Go to your wife." Seo-Joon crossed the space in seconds, pulling Grace into his arms, whispering urgently in her ear. "Are you?" She nodded against his chest. "When were you going to tell me?" "Tonight. I wanted today to be about the business first." He pulled back to look at her, eyes bright with tears. "Are you scared?" "Terrified," she admitted. "We're already managing 2 countries, 2 cultures, 2 businesses. We'll figure it out. 2 very opinionated mothers. We'll figure it out. And now a baby who's going to be half Korean, half Nigerian, probably bilingual, definitely stubborn." Seo-Joon kissed her, soft and deep, pouring 2 years of love and gratitude and joy into it. "We'll figure it out," he whispered against her lips. "Together, like we always do." "Together," Grace agreed, laughing as happy tears spilled down her cheeks. Behind them, Mrs. Kang stood with Grace's mother, watching their children with something like wonder. "Our grandchild will be beautiful," Grace's mother said in her careful English. "Our grandchild will be extraordinary," Mrs. Kang corrected, then added in rusty but sincere Yoruba she'd been secretly learning, "Ikabosi ebiwa." "Welcome to our family." Grace's mother beamed and responded in equally rusty Korean, "Hwanyoung, welcome." The party continued late into the Lagos night, Korean barbecue served alongside jollof rice, K-pop mixing with Afrobeats, Seoul executives dancing with Mushin neighbors, 2 worlds merging into something entirely new and beautiful. As the moon rose over Lagos, Seo-Joon and Grace stood on the balcony of their apartment, larger now, spanning the floor where Grace's single room used to be, renovated but still in Mushin because Grace refused to forget where she came from. "Can you believe this?" Grace said, leaning into his embrace. 2 years ago, I was a waitress, wondering if I'd ever use my degree. Now I'm running a company, married to you, and, she touched her stomach, about to be someone's mother. Scared? Beyond terrified, but also. She turned in his arms, cupping his face. Also the happiest I've ever been. Is that crazy? If it is, we're crazy together. Seo-Joon kissed her forehead. You know my mother's already planning the baby shower? She's flying in decorators from Seoul and caterers from Lagos. It's going to be the most extra event in Nigerian history. Grace laughed. Your mother has come a long way from trying to bribe me to disappear. She really has. Seo-Joon grew serious. Thank you. For what? For not taking that money, for fighting for us, for being brave enough to send me away so I could come back whole. He pressed his hand over hers on her stomach. For giving me a future I didn't know I could have. You gave me one too, Grace whispered. A future where I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving, where my family is secure, where I can help other women the way no one could help my mother. You made that possible. We made it possible. Together. Together, Grace agreed, kissing him as the Lagos night hummed around them, generators and music and life and laughter and love. Because love, it turned out, wasn't about two people from the same world finding each other. Sometimes it was about two people from opposite worlds choosing to build a new one together. If you found this story interesting, please subscribe, like, share, and comment where you're watching from.